Last couple of minutes here. I just, and we could do a whole show on this. Apologize, I didn't leave more time for it, but I am assuming you are staying, you're watching the AI and robotics movement, obviously very closely.
Yep.
Uh, I am as well as a recruiter because it is going to affect the workforce, already is affecting the workforce and jobs, et
Yeah.
cetera. So I'm watching it. I'm reading all the books. I'm watching all the podcasts. I try to stay on top of it. You know, I listened to Brett Adcock, I think, is the CEO of Figure, the robotics company Figure. I listened to that whole interview he did with uh, Peter something. Anyway, I try to stay on top of it. What are your thoughts, Nick? Are we? There's so many predictions with AI and
Right.
robotics, right? There's so many. It's once over here. Wait, like, oh my God, they're gonna take over the world, or no, we're gonna live in a world of abundance, and it's all gonna be fine. I mean, it's all over the place. Where are we headed with robotics? I mean, do you think? Let's specifically target humanoid robots.
Mhm.
Do you think humanoid robots are going to flood the market in the millions and eventually do a lot of these trade skills? Do you see that coming?
I've I think it's the increase of probability has increased in the past couple years to a point where it's like I just think there's too many challenges, there's too many one-off things.
Okay.
You've got too many process flows that need to be automated. And there's still a lot of experience share that is tough to translate. And you just
Okay.
have like a lot of one-off things specific and I'm really looking at it more from a construction standpoint. Like I'm not
Okay.
looking at
You're
it
right. Yeah.
the general world as a whole, lawyers, medical, that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at it from a construction standpoint.
Okay.
And I think it's will be human assisted AI and robotics, not human replacement. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it is really where I see it going. Um,
Let's do a real
humanoids.
world. Let's do a real world example of that really quick. Let's say you're on a construction site and you have a painter and
Yep.
he's touching up the painting. Do you see the humanoid robot being a device like the painter says, "Hey, go get those other buckets of paint and stack them over here." That kind of a thing?
Mhm. Yeah, it'll be stuff like that. It'll be material handling. But stuff where it's like, hey, you've got to mask off this specific area, and it's got this type of
Mm.
um, texture on the surface with this type of adhesive. The
Nah.
training you have to do something as kind of menial as that, I don't think you're going to get your cost out of that training protocol.
Okay.
And like,
Okay.
there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you would rather be training the robot to do than something is like that.
I see.
Whereas you can just talk to a person and say, hey, go put tape on that seam over there. They go straight up and down.
Gotcha.
Run your hand over it and it'll get done. It's like, oh, and there'll just be a lot of kind of edge case scenarios that you'll naturally process as humans that are more difficult for robots to process. Can they do it? Eventually, probably, but you have to look at all the one-off scenarios that have to be trained. Um, and there's just so many of those on a dynamic construction site that it's gonna be tough to do it in its entirety. Can you
Do
do
you
it
all
in big places? Yeah, absolutely. But one
okay.
off, it's gonna be tough to get full autonomy.
Do you also think there'll be pushback because if it starts to eliminate jobs, people will start pushing back and then regulation will come into play for things and do you see it getting messy there?
I don't. And the reason why it's like we're in a labor shortage. There's physically not enough people to do the work that needs to be done. We're already
Okay.
over budget and behind schedule on 90% of
Okay.
construction jobs.
Okay.
We are actually being approached by unions. Um,
Interesting.
they see it as a tool for them to be competitive with the rest of the market. The other thing that we're seeing is it's an opportunity to extend careers,
I
right?
see.
Like if you used to be the fastest person in the world, well, eventually you can't move the way that you used to. Well, you can if you're controlling a robot and you're
Mm,
sharing that experience you
mm,
have with
mm,
management of the robot, and you don't have the wear and tear. Um, and
mm.
you're looking at it's like, hey, instead of having to retire at 50, you're able to retire, 60, 65, and you're able to increase your earning potential because
Wow.
we pay on output. And if you're going to be that much more productive, then you can increase your earnings.
Very good. Good outlook. So overall, you're optimistic as to how AI and robotics can continue to help us as humans and in the workforce. You feel positive about where we're headed.
Yeah. I'm definitely the challenge is really what's the process to integrate these technologies into because the other thing you do is like your best painter with robots is not the same as your best painter without robots. Right, your best painter with robots is more of a general communication, general leadership. How do you plan? How do you like process management? Your best painter without robots is the one that can paint the most, the fastest, at the highest quality.